Okay, in a previous video I showed how I modified a Wissota holder so it would work on an Easy Sharp machine. Just for review, the Wissota machine here, the wheel is just roughly about 4.5 to 4 5/8 above the surface here. And then on the Easy Sharp machine, it's roughly 4 1/8. It's about 4 5/8, roughly about a ½ inch. Just crudely, the Easy Sharp machine is lower to this operating surface, to the wheel. So there's two different holders. This is a 3D holder from Wissota. This is a Wissota holder that was for figure skates there that I modified, dropped it down by a ½ inch. And then lo and behold, this is an Easy Sharp holder. And you may notice here that it's higher. So what's going on? Did I fib? No. What it is Easy Sharp also makes holders for other machines. And this particular holder here is set up for Wissota. So the 3D holder here and this particular Easy Sharp holder have the same Z height. And they cam it in on the Easy Sharp machine with these two gizmos. They undo the slots and they turn these little round things eccentric to get this to its parallel on here and on here. And what that does is it means the blade is parallel to this mounting surface. And then the tilt on this is like the old Easy Sharp machine, the tangent finder. So you're changing actually the effective Z height a small amount by cranking this back and forth. And that was what the Wissota tangent finder type holder was. And on this particular one, there's an adapter plate. And this adapter plate raises it up so it fits on a Wissota holder. Now, if I go ahead and take this plate off, it'll be the same height over here. And they did that so you don't have to go through and change all this amble and stuff around. They kept the number of parts to the minimum. On the Easy Sharp machine, or the holder here, underneath the foot here, the felt, under here there's some screws. There's 4 screws under here. And that is what holds the plate on. They're just regular slotted screws. So the plate there is between, just estimating, I think it's around, it's about a ½ inch thick. Right on there, about a ½ inch thick. So if you actually had an Easy Sharp holder and you want to use it on a Wissota machine, you can put a ½ inch plate under there, lift it up, use it on the Wissota. This old holder here is one that was used. It says Ice Capades on it. It has a whole bunch of different holders made in Canada, and you turn these knobs and that lifts it up to adjust the plate up and down and sideways. That's just a vertical adjust. The 3D holder, of course, has got two 1/4-28 screws that lift it up. And then you can use this either for tilt or bring all 3 of them to lift it up. And on the Easy Sharp one, it just has a fixed height and then you're tilting it here. And what that does is that because the blade is not right here, it's actually sticking out and you're pivoting from here. It's either going to go down or go up a little bit. So they have one, I believe, for figure and hockey where the Z height, the nominal Z height, is cammed in different for the 2 different thicknesses. Hockey's around 110 thousandths, and say figure maybe 140 to 150, is about 30 thousandths difference, depending on the skate blade, whatever. And this is the tilt indicator. That's actually the Z height. Changes the Z height because it's not pivoting right here, it's pivoting off to the side. So it goes down or goes back up. And again, the Easy Sharp one is similar to the old Wissota tangent finder that was out, I want to say about 10 years ago. So you've got a tilt back here. The tangent one actually had a Z height adjust on here. A little bit crude with the slots. On the Easy Sharp machine here, you've got these cams that are undone. Normally this is all left in place. And so all you do is adjust the Z height with this. Okay, I'm going to show the Z height, how that works using just either this knob on the Easy Sharp or on the Wissota over here. I put this square over here and just get that so it's right at the 5-inch mark. And I go through here and turn this knob. You can go ahead and I'm lifting it up. What it's really doing, it's rotating about this point. That's what they call the instant centering mechanisms. And if it was right vertically here, straight up, there would be no motion. So if you're on this side vertically, it's going to raise up, and this side's going to raise down. So they've got the pivot point purposely behind this edge of the blade. So by dropping this down, anything here goes up. Same thing with over here. So again, the pivot point on this particular, on the Wissota, is right here where the springs are. And then this is forward. So if this goes up here, this goes down. Same thing here. If this goes up, this goes the opposite motion because the pivot point is between the two. It's like a teeter-totter. Again, if it was right, if you move this pivot point to right here, there'd be no motion. So you don't really want that. You want that to be somewhere behind or ahead of this. It's more convenient to put it here. Now the downside of this type of adjustment is that you're actually tilting the blade up like this a little bit or down. So along the skate wheel here, when you grind, if you had it perfectly where you've got the edge heights are perfect here when you hit the wheel, you're going to get a small arrow when you get down to here because this is pitched up or pitched down. And that's on any type of machine, Wissota, Blackstone, Wissota, Easy Sharp, Ford, General Motors, whatever. So what you do is you want to have it so that the nominal setting on this is to where when this is level, or on this one you want to have it so it's hitting actually at the center of curvature where it's cut by the diamond over here. It's not necessarily where the wheel is, but it's where the center fattest bulge is, and that's determined by the pivot of this point and over here. And what happens with that is that means you use this for small adjustments. So normally you want to do is have one of these set up nominally for hockey, to where for the average type of blades it's pretty much on the money. You're not fiddling with this. Same thing with over here. So that minor adjustments, you're not going to get a curvature error along here. If you went through and had this thing grossly off, let's say you had this thing a 1/2 inch up, 1/4 of an inch up, you still could hit the wheel a little bit high here on the equator, and you still can get even edge thicknesses because exaggerated the blade can be coming down like this. And because it's curved and you're hitting right at the where the spot is, you still can get equal edges. But what happens is the blade from the profile here isn't straight. So what happens is if you had it to be right along here with an edge checker, to be the two edges to be equal, you're going to get a curvature error that's going to be your high or low away, and that's because this is not straight through here. Same thing on here. If you went ahead and cut this at an angle, you'll have no error as long as this is straight. But skates are not straight. So That's why, like on the Easy Sharp machine, I believe they set up normally hit one for figure and one for hockey. And the one for figure, they drop this down a little bit because the blade is thicker. So you want the center of the blade nominally, when this has got no tilt, to hit right through here. Same thing on the Wissota machine. You want it so that nominally, if you're always doing figures for one of those, you want this so the center of the blade, when this has got no tilt here, is hitting right where the max bulge is, which is that's what's cut by the diamond right through here. Then you're not going to get any errors going along here as far as edge thickness. No tilt like this. You can have a case where this is exactly, the edges are the same height here. You get to this side, it can be tilted off like this because you're off the straight long portion here. And that's what happens if you go through exaggerated and you came in, and with a flat blade like this, even though that's curved at the end, you could actually come in at a gross angle like this and get equal edges as long as this is lifted up in the correct spot. And that's above the equator. But you're having this go to the center of curvature from the side view of this where it's cut. But blades are not, again, straight. They're curved like this. That's why you want to have your skate holder set up to where nominally that this is level to your machine surface with the nominal blade that you're using. So if you're always doing hockey skates, you can set up one of the Easy Sharp machine holders like this just to be for hockey. With figures, they make another holder. You can have Easy Sharp go ahead and make one that's dropped down a little bit. What they do is they just send you out the same holder like this, and they adjust the cam so it's dropped down by, I think, half the thickness of the blades, which would be like, say, 15 thousandths. Say figure skates are 150, hockey skates are 110, the difference would be 40 thousandths. He's going to go ahead and drop this down by 20 thousandths. And what they do is they take a indicator, scribe like this, and they measure from the top to this surface, top to this surface. You want this to be parallel. Same thing on the Wissota here. When you set this up, you want the height from here to here, here to here to be the same. You can set that with the dials. This is a little bit more adjustable, but you still got things you can fool with. Somebody can get in here and booger up the settings. This is a little bit more idiot-proof in the sense you only have one knob that people can goof around with. But still, you can get the thing goofed up by having this whatever. I recommend you should probably go ahead and put a arrow on here so you can count the number of turns you're turning. If you're even slicker, you could go ahead and put a gauge on here to tie to this. Now, this doesn't have the, I've got right now the arm disconnected that you grab this with. There's a thing here with two handles. And this is the old Easy Sharp one. They had the yellow handles from California I had, and that's the one that was made in Stacy, Minnesota before they moved to St. Paul. Mr. Peterson made this at his factory. I think Bill runs it now there in St. Paul. But Mr. Peterson passed away, I think, in 2001, I believe, and he was 95 at Easy Sharp, and that was in Stacy. And it got sold off to, I don't know if his son ran or somebody else, but then Bill runs it in St. Paul. Their competitor, of course, is Wissota, which I've got on here. And all these skate holders like this, they're floating around on different machines. Don't assume that the Z height is the same. So if you go ahead and you get a holder like this, use one. Sometimes these clamps get really wailed on and bent on both the Wissota or here. Somebody can go manhandle on that. This is the older Easy Sharp holder. It's pretty robust. The older ones here are not plated. They kind of got some weird paint on it. I think the newer ones are all, these are plated. Got a better plating on that than the older version. Of course, they got pads. And the pads on both of these things, when they wear, they're going to wear down to change your Z height. So if you sit there and use this all the time, you got dust on here. And don't expect this thing to be right on the money, in the sense if you sat there and used it for a long time over a whole season, it's going to drop down because you wear the pads down. And so expect to do a little bit of tweaking. That's why I always have to check the edges. Most of the time these get goofed up because people play with them, unfortunately. But they're pretty robust, last a long time. Sometimes they're available used. And I think Blackstone's has got one like this with the same 3 holders, three wheels on that. This type of design's been around for a long time. It's got less to fiddle with, not as much adjustments, a little bit more, little bit goober-proof in the sense that once this is dialed in, you only have one thing that can get fiddled with compared to the 3. 3's got a lot more variability. You can go through and tweak it right on the money, and since you can lift it up, tilt it, whatever. It's also got some dials to see where you are, and that's why on here, if you put a dial, so if you check one person's skates and you do it and they're on the money, and you get one that's thicker or thinner, and you have to go over here with a thing on here, you can kind of go back to where you were, so you don't go ahead and screw things up, and that's kind of helpful.